you can see like on Sentinels, they still play well as a team. They still play like very fundamentally sound and whatnot. So like having the structure that they fall back on lets their players kind of like focus more on like what they're doing. And that's what we're looking to build.
Hey guys, this is Pedro back with another interview covering VCT Americas Stage 1. I'm here accompanied by eeiu, 100 Thieves. We're just coming off of a 2-0 loss to Sentinels in the aforementioned split. So eeiu, once again, thank you so much for taking the time once again for another interview. I mean, starting off with that match against Sentinels, I mean, a tough way to go down, similar result as it was back in kickoff. I mean, nothing else to say but just say how you taking in this result.
Um, Honestly, we've had a lot of time to scrim before this match. We've had a lot of practice. I think the one thing that we've been lacking that we tried to get in the offseason and we tried to get in kickoff is just like a little bit more match experience to see how, we play in matches and whatnot. I think that's one benefit that they definitely have, although they pretty much didn't get a break at all from last stage to this stage. Their team is like really experienced now, considering that they just won Masters and whatnot. And we're definitely coming over like a few hills and a few things that change a little bit in the match. So I don't think it was too bad. It's definitely not the result that we wanted or expected. I do think Icebox could have went our way if we won one of the pistols, but we lost both the pistols on Icebox, and then Split. It felt like we couldn't get anything going for us. So, um, yeah, I mean, disappointed with the result. Obviously, we were looking at 2-0 them. John just had to travel like last night, I think, to show up for this match. So it definitely sucks.
Yeah, and as you said, the Sentinels are a very experienced team, but it was one in which they had their IGO coming in at the very last second, and yeah, given that you guys were able to just prep as much as you can against Sentinels, given that they played a lot in Madrid, then what do you feel was kind of the biggest problem that you guys experienced in that series? In Icebox and also in Split, just in an overall sense.
Um, to put it like more simply, I feel like Sentinels, in a way, they have like a playstyle that doesn't really allow a lot of their players for mistakes. Like they play pretty passive on their ones. They have a group that fights. Solos are pretty safe. Their pairs fight together, and then when they retake a side of the map, so like take Split for example, they would give A a lot. If not, they'd fight heavy A. But the rounds that they would give A and do their retake, where they're super heavy flooding, scaling all together, spacing together, that felt pretty high pressure to deal with in this game. I think they're pretty drilled in that sense, in where if for example I walked up on Zelsis mid maybe like 3-4 rounds that game because he was playing solo mid as Viper. So if he took a 1v1 on me and we traded him out, or if he lost the 1v1, he loses all of mid. So my assumption in the game was that he's not going to take that fight. And obviously, like whenever we would try to go mid, he would jiggle mail, pop orb, molly, stall. Their pack would kind of come mid. So I feel like when I'm saying like they have the experience from the matches and they're really drilled, that's kind of what I mean. Like they don't really have a lot of gaps that you can expose in a sense. They kind of have like a solid structure on defense that they like to flow on. And then, on attack, it's a little similar. They space together well. Icebox, their scaling was pretty good, and we couldn't deal with their scaling. The top 410 guy was kind of annoying, but we're going to go and talk about that after for sure.
Yeah, for sure, know that. I want to see how you compare, that Sentinels team with this one, given the fact that, as you said, you guys were scrimming a lot during the break, and then separating that with from today to kickoff, in which this team only played 2 matches in kickoff, but then again, it was against very tough opposition in Leviathan and Sentinels for the first time. But yeah,
Mhm.
how do you compare that kind of synergy that Sentinels already has established due to their constant playing together in officials compared to how you guys are at, with 3 matches logged in for 2024 and just that.
I mean, yeah, no excuses. Like, we could have played more matches in kickoff if we won. We should have won this match as well. So, like, no excuses by any means. We got to win every game that we're up against. So we could have beat Lev. We could have beat Sentinels the first time. We should have won Icebox in this series this time. It's just, we got to keep working. We got to keep practicing harder. We got to make sure that we're getting realistic reps and that, the things that come in matches, like when it's go time in the match, we have things to fall back on. We have comfort. We have all the things that we can do in the match that we know is going to work. Um, Similar to Sentinels in the sense of like they have their structure that they fall back on. Like I think John QT tweeted after the match saying something about how he feels like really bad right now, or this is the first time he's ever felt this bad, or the worst that he's ever felt for a match. But you can see like on Sentinels, they still play well as a team. They still play like very fundamentally sound and whatnot. So like having the structure that they fall back on lets their players kind of like focus more on like what they're doing. And that's what we're looking to build. We've been scrimming hard for like this entire month that we watched kickoff. We're still scrimming hard to this day. This is only going to make us like practice even harder. So yeah, we're just going to get back to the lab.
Yeah, and talking a little bit within the lab, if it's possible, just sort of looking at how you guys were coming off of kickoff and just having to wait roughly 2 months to now finally play this match, despite the result, of course. But coming off of kickoff, what do you think was the biggest issues that the team addressed? From your end, from then up until now.
Sorry, the issues that we had coming from like after kickoff.
Yeah, like from kickoff till now. Yeah.
Um, Honestly, it's still like a pretty new team in that sense. Considering kickoff was like our first real tournament together, going out of kickoff to now, there wasn't really much that like was like a stark issue for us. We just kind of kept expanding our playbook. I think that would probably be like the biggest thing during kickoff that we didn't have. I remember playing Leviathan on Bind. They had Gecko ult, Raze ult, or like basically an ult that they could use to take a site pretty easily every single round. And I remember at that time, since we were still a new team, we didn't have protocols set for like anti-Raze ult, anti-Gecko ult, how we're going to play against these things. What's the protocol, if we play a Yoru team in the Yoru ult. So there wasn't really any like big problem per se. I would say our biggest weakness out of kickoff was that we just didn't have enough time to make things. But going into this game and going into all the series for the future, that's the type of stuff that we've been cooking. If they have a KO ult, a Raze ult, a Gecko ult, what are we gonna do? How are we gonna play the map? What's the macro gonna look like? What happens after they ult? What happens if they don't ult? How's our retake looking and all that stuff?
Yeah, as you said, not really much having a big playbook, but now would it be fair to say you now have like a big enough playbook that you guys can kind of go off of, in whatever situation. Of course, I say this due to the fact that you guys are coming off of a loss to Sentinels, but still, early on in the season, so kind of understand the gist of my question, but still, um, now that you have a bigger playbook with more time added in for practice, you kind of feel more confident in just trying to deflect whatever situation that kind of comes present against you guys.
Yeah. So I think like in the initial Lev and Sentinels matches for us, a lot of it was more so like we played good. I mean, we could have won both of those matches realistically, but like expanding the playbook was a big goal at that point. As for now, we spent that entire month practicing really hard. Playbook is pretty flushed out. I think like take this match for example, a lot of the things that would I guess lose us the round or lose us a very small situation are very micro, like very small little niche things that we can talk about. Um, Take for example like the uh, A Heaven round on Split when we Viper ulted in A Heaven. Like the way that they retook the site in that round and the way that they played it into the retake never really happened to us. We never had that rep in a scrim. We never really got into that scenario. So it kind of like stunned us for a little bit. But these like small little micro things, maybe like our scaling was weird on an idea. Maybe like the way we ran a retake was weird because of how somebody pathed, or like our trading wasn't good in a certain situation, or we could have used better util. It's all like really like small things that we have to talk about. But before, for example, like when we played Lev on Bind, it was like, okay, we don't even know how to play the macro of this round. Like they're Gecko ulting A, we have nobody on top truck, nobody triple, nobody's heaven, nobody's on an elevated position. We don't have like a shower bait or anything. No one's prioritizing the shark. It's like the macro scale of things we've talked about more for sure. And that's not really, I don't think, the issue. Like going into the Sentinels game, for example, they do a lot of the small things correctly. I think if you could give one big plus to Sentinels over a lot of the other teams is like I said, they're really drilled. So the small things, whether it's scaling, trading, pathing, like all that stuff, they do really well. Like they'll make sure that they jiggle for their teammates to get into the fight and whatnot. And that's I think what pulled them over the line today, at least on Icebox. And then on Split, they played amazing, to be honest with you.
Yeah, no doubt. I really appreciate you explaining the nuances of just the difference between you guys and just Sentinels, and also one might say the rest of the league. And yeah, now taking a little bit of focus over to the future. A pretty a tough schedule, I might say. 400 Thieves in you guys' search for a win, but also on top of just contending for a spot in Shanghai and also in Champions. Of course, when I look at the schedule, of course, it's going to be against G2, Cloud9, Crew, and then NRG. Three teams of which just picked up their first win in week one, and so For you in particular, how are you looking at the upcoming schedule? With the form, the team's condition, the team's like strategization, basically everything that we've been talking about in mind.
Yeah, I mean, we're prepared, honestly. Like, it doesn't matter who we play. It doesn't matter whether it's Sentinels, whether we're playing G2 next week. It doesn't matter who we're playing. We're ready for the game. No excuses. I don't care who we play. We're looking to win every game we play. We're still looking to win this Sentinels match, regardless of the conditions that we faced. Whether we were going to play against Curry, whether we're going to play with John QT with all the practice in the world, whether he was going to fly in yesterday. You know, at the point is like we're going to prepare as hard as we can for the game. We're going to go into the game on the day of, and all the preparation that we had before the game will show on that day. So we're going to do our best no matter what team we're playing against. We're going to put in the same preparation, the same hard work that we were putting in, and the results should come. We're not focused on the result. We're more so focused on how we get there. Like, are we building our playbook? Are we focusing on the small things? Are we fixing our pathing? Are we fixing our scaling? Are we throwing the right util at this time? Could we do something else in this round? So, looking less at the result and being like, oh, we got 2-0 this time, and last time we got 2-1. That means we got worse. That's not really the way we look at it.
Right, right. A better, a fitting way to cap off this conversation, and one that hopefully you guys are able to just build off of despite the results of Sentinels for the future. EU, thank you
Mhm.
so much for taking the time, talking to me one more time, and just, yeah, best of luck goes to you and the team for the future.
All right, thank you, Pedro.